Welcome to a very festive and merry edition of Haunted Hangover Haunt Reviews. I'm Louie, and after many years, I finally got a chance to check out the Haunted Mansion Holiday at Disneyland in Anaheim, California. Now, I'm a big theme park guy. For most of my life, I've visited parks in Florida because I'm in New York and it's on the East Coast. So my go-to parks were Universal Studios, both the original and Islands of Adventure, and all 4 Disney parks. Those were the ones I went to the most growing up, specifically Magic Kingdom. It's one of the amusement parks like I've literally been to I can't even count, and I've been going to it my entire life. I know it pretty well, so I've seen a lot of attractions come and go throughout the years, but one classic has always stayed the same and kind of stood the test of time, and that's the Haunted Mansion. Now, the Haunted Mansion is one of my favorite rides personally. Every time I visit Magic Kingdom, I make sure to get on it at least twice. It's not the most thrilling or even really that scary of a ride. There's some other rides in the park that are way more intense, like Space Mountain or even Splash Mountain, that big drop. There are no drops in the Haunted Mansion. There are no loops in the Haunted Mansion. Even the ghosts and creatures inside of the attraction aren't really that terrifying in any way. But there's just something about the atmosphere of the Haunted Mansion that I love so much. I love the rickety doom buggies that have been there for, 50 years. It's a very, very old ride. I love the storyline with all the 999 happy haunts. Everything about this attraction brings me so much joy. Obviously, I run Haunted Hangover. I love Halloween. I love horror. So I always tell people that are into that type of stuff that they have to visit the Haunted Mansion. It's a must. If you've never been on the Haunted Mansion, whether it's the West Coast version, the East Coast version, whatever version, you have to get on it. I've been saying it for years, and I will continue to do so. Now, up until this point, 2022, I've never actually been to Disneyland on the West Coast. I've been to California several times, and I've gone to their version of Universal Studios. I've gone to Knott's Berry Farm. For some reason, Disneyland was never on the itinerary. For years, people always told me, like, oh, it's smaller. Disneyland's smaller than Magic Kingdom, and it wasn't as good. So I guess that always swayed me from ever visiting. But there was one attraction for years I always heard about and wanted to experience for myself one day, and that is the Haunted Mansion Holiday.
The Haunted Mansion is all decked out for the holidays, in the spirit of Christmas Halloween style, becoming the Haunted Mansion Holiday. With a frightfully fun, creepy new house guest, Oogie Boogie, Jack Skellington's nemesis from Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Come see what it's like when holidays collide in the Haunted Mansion Holiday at Disneyland Park.
So the Haunted Mansion Holiday as an attraction or an experience has been around since 2001, but I'm just going to give out a brief spoiler warning because I'm going to talk about what happens and aspects of the ride I like, and I'm going to put up some images and video in this episode, and I don't want to spoil it for you if you intend on checking this out in the future. So, the Haunted Mansion Holiday is a Nightmare Before Christmas re-theme overlay of the Haunted Mansion attraction. And it isn't some lazy put-together type deal either. This is Disney, so they don't skip out on stuff like that. They always do a fantastic job with their theming. But what it is basically a new attraction using the Haunted Mansion as a somewhat backdrop. So the story of the ride, yes, the ride has a story. It takes place after the events of the film, A Nightmare Before Christmas, and Jack Skellington, dressed in his Santa Claus garb. If you're familiar with the movie, which I'm sure you are, you know he calls Santa Claus Sandy Claus. And him and all of his Halloween Town friends want to bring the holiday cheer to the 999 ghosts in the Haunted Mansion. In a nutshell, Jack just wants to have this big spooky holiday bash with the ghost, and that's kind of how I took it as I went through the attraction. The mansion itself is fully decked out with both Christmas and Halloween decorations. Very authentic looking props. They look like they were pulled straight out of the film. My favorite being Jack's coffin sled on top of the mansion with a long list. He has like this formula for Christmas that's in the movie, and it's hanging out on the side of his sled on top of the mansion. There's also a ton of jack-o'-lanterns, and that's always a good thing in my book. Now, once you're inside, there is a pre-show, and what's really cool is they actually altered the infamous stretching room from the OG attraction. If you're familiar with the Haunted Mansion, when you go into this pre-show, you're basically locked in a room, and there's all these portraits of, I believe it's either family members or just random people. And as the room stretches, it's revealed to you how they died. So what they did for this overlay is they switched out all the stretching room portraits with images of like these Nightmare Before Christmas toys from the film and characters. And as the room stretches, it's revealed to you, like, I'm pretty sure it's the characters are doing like these sinister acts like they do in the film. And then Jack breaks this stained glass from above you, and they achieve this by using a screen and projecting something on it. And then he yells and tells everyone happy holidays to kind of set you up before you exit this room and go and load into the doom buggy. And this entire pre-show is pretty intimidating. Even I took a step back and I was like, damn, that was loud and kind of freaky. I could see some kids maybe crying or getting scared when this happens, but it's just impressive how they were able to kind of alter even the pre-show. You know, I thought originally when I was going to get on this, I always thought maybe they'd keep that the same or just bypass it altogether, but no, they even themed the pre-show. So I was just like, wow, this is crazy. Just crazy how much work goes into this retheme of such an infamous attraction.
Was the nightmare before Christmas had gone through the house. Not a creature was peaceful, not even a mouse.
After the pre-show, you head down a long hall, making your way towards the ride vehicles. Here you see a bunch of paintings or portraits as well. These aren't stretching, they're just made to look like regular size paintings. One's of Jack, one's of Sally. Jack's, his cross dissolves from him wearing his normal Halloween Town gear to dressed up as Santa Claus and holding his sack and a present and stuff. And then you've got Sally. She's happy in one image holding a Christmas tree, and then when hers dissolves, it reveals her holding a burnt Christmas tree looking all sad and emo, because we all know what happens to Jack in A Nightmare Before Christmas. He shouldn't have been celebrating Christmas. He should have stuck with Halloween. One cool effect with these portraits in this hallway before you get on the ride, Zero, Jack's dog, his ghost dog, passes through each portrait. So you see him pass behind Jack, and then obviously there's the wall because these are supposed to be pictures, and he passes through Jack's and then passes through Sally's. And Zero and the vampire doll from the film, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about as well, make several appearances throughout the attraction. It's almost like a Where's Waldo? Where can you spot them? I got on this 3 or 4 times within a 2-day span. And every single time I went on it, I discovered Zero in a different place, the vampire doll in a different spot. They move around. Literally every scene or set piece, Zero or the vampire doll, I'm pretty sure both of them appear somewhere. Now, right before you board, there's this really nice backdrop, sort of backdrop, because they're all moving, of several of the Nightmare Before Christmas characters prepping for the holiday. And there's this nice large Merry Christmas banner underneath them. Just a really cool visual to see as the vehicles pass underneath it. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire attraction beat by beat because that would be silly, but I will mention my top 5 favorite moments on the ride itself. First up was this really cool mirror effect, or at least that's what I think it is. So basically, your buggy turns a corner and there's a long hallway. And normally, I believe in the distance, there's a candelabra floating around. But what they did here was they switched it And it's Zero now, alive and in the flesh, kind of, because he's a ghost, so technically he's not alive. But he's just floating and barking. And it's just crazy because it looks so realistic to see this character in front of you. And, you know, gets you a little emotional. You're at Disney, for God's sake, so that's acceptable. So my second favorite thing is there's a portion where the buggies go down the hall of the mansion. This is a normal occurrence. This is what happens in the ride normally. But you start to notice these garland-type vines filling the room. And the buggy turns and leans back a bit. And then it's eventually revealed right above you that the giant man-eating Christmas wreath is the one wreaking all this havoc in the room. And just seeing this, and it's an animatronic, and a really good animatronic, considering this thing's 20 years old. Just seeing it live and in person, similar to the, and that's going to be a theme in my favorite things about this ride, but just seeing this thing that I see in the movie right in front of me, I'm talking like 5 feet away from me, was just awesome. I was also a big fan of the main ballroom in the Haunted Mansion, this time fully decked out in Christmas/Halloween decor. It's sort of crazy to see this iconic moment in the ride transformed into a Christmas wonderland, or Christmas and Halloween wonderland. It's full of presents and trees, while all the ghosts we recognize are they're kind of hanging around and dancing and spinning and all that. I'm pretty sure I also smelled some sort of holiday fragrance in the air too, so that was a nice touch. Now, besides the man-eating wreath, there's also a few other animatronics I was a big fan of. Obviously, the Jack Skellington in his Santa Claus garb is fucking excellent. I love that animatronic. A lot bigger than I thought, too. You know, in the movie, Jack Skellington looks like he's about 50 pounds soaking wet. In the ride, he's like 6'8", which would make sense. When you watch the movie, he's this skinny, kind of broomstick-looking dude. And in the ride, it looks like he looks exactly the same way. It looks like he was pulled out of the movie, but he's moving around. He's holding his like Santa Claus sack. He's got the beard hanging. Everything about it was awesome. There's also an Oogie Boogie animatronic. I think he's next to his wheel, the wheel that he has in the movie. And just the fluid motion, the fabric. It just looks so realistic for something so animated and fake. You know, it's just perfect. And they're speaking to you and they're greeting, and just everything about it was so great. That's the one thing that I love about attractions and rides, and I feel like that's what's missing in some rides. Like, you go to Universal Studios now, and there's a lot of screen-based attractions, but nothing beats seeing something physical in person, like these animatronics, like the Jack Skellington animatronic, like the Oogie Boogie animatronic, like the man-eating wreath. I love me a simulator ride. You're sitting in the chair and it's bouncing around and it feels kind of right, but there's just something special about it physically being there where you could touch it, where you're not supposed to touch it, but you guys know what I mean. Like, it's just great. It's great. More rides need animatronics. They need physical sets and stuff. And a ride like this, like the Haunted Mansion Holiday and the Haunted Mansion in general, it proves that. It proves why physical sets and physical animatronics will always outdo screens. The last gimmick I'll talk about is the mirror gag. So in the original Haunted Mansion, towards the end of the ride, everyone faces these mirrors, and it looks like there's a ghost riding inside your buggy going home with you. So what they did this time was they switched it, and when you're looking in the mirror, instead it's a gift that Jack Skellington, Santa Claus, left for you. So like, I believe one of the times I rode, it was a sinister looking candy cane with a bow on it, with a very Tim Burton-y bow on it. And you could see everyone having fun and reaching for it and stuff. It's a classic effect, and I didn't miss the ghost effect because this one was just as good, and it works with the theming of the ride.
You've been naughty all night.
So unfortunately, I have no cons, and there isn't anything I disliked about this ride. The only thing I disliked was 1 or 2 times there was a long wait, but whatever, it's Disneyland. That's to be expected. Waiting in lines and in queues is a thing at theme parks. Also, I know there's people that think The Nightmare Before Christmas is played out. It's corny. You know, it's a merch machine. They just turn out merch. And they're having everyone fucking buy Jack Skellington t-shirts and toys and board games and video games and this, that, and the third. You know, I think it's a special movie. I still love it. I watch it every year. You know, if you're around my age, you probably grew up watching this, seeing it in the theater, owning the VHS. It's still special to me. And I'm glad there are younger people discovering it now and are just appreciating it for what it is. And what's so special about the Haunted Mansion holiday is I'm able, and we're able, to experience that film in real life. And that's what's so great about this attraction, is that I was able to do something I've always wanted to do when I was a kid, and that's visit Halloween Town, even though this is technically the Haunted Mansion, but close enough. And, you know, overall, the Haunted Mansion holiday is just as good as the original Haunted Mansion. You know, it's got that holiday cheer and Halloween spookiness. I really do wish I had gone on this sooner. Shame on me for waiting 20 years to experience this magical attraction, this glorious attraction. And the last thing I'll say to close out here is, if you love The Nightmare Before Christmas, if you love Halloween, if you love horror, if you love Disney, whatever, you need to get your ass to Disneyland and ride the Haunted Mansion holiday. You will not regret it. I get it. Disney's expensive. And you know what? Save up, because it is worth it.
It always seems to happen around the holidays. A house guest that nobody invited just shows up.
Buddy!
The Haunted Mansion holiday is back.
Pass the maggots!
And this time Jack Skellington and his friends
Where are you
have
going?
creepy new company.
Who's there?
A fly in my soup? Excellent!
The Haunted Mansion holiday at Disneyland Park. Part of a whole new world of magic.
So those are my thoughts on Haunted Mansion holiday. Be sure to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at Haunted Hangover. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/HauntedHangover31. If you're listening to the audio-only version of this episode, please rate and review us. That'd be greatly appreciated. And remember, the best cure for a hangover is more booze. Catch you guys later, and happy holidays.
Ho, ho, ho!